I go to bed that night and I wake up to his sent to me, and it made me very, very uncomfortable.
So James Charles is in massive scandal for the millionth time because once again he's been exposed as an alleged predator, with maybe the most expected turn of events that I've seen in 2025, with Rhett Ethan coming out of his story, once again bringing crazy allegations to the fore. And we knew about James's alleged crimes, but not one with him abusing a relationship with a 14-year-old. All of this for his sick fantasies. The whole thing is disgusting. With all of it just mounted up, we've got to ask, why is James Charles still on the internet? So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. I am Jake Baz, and today we have an absolute stinker of a situation. James Charles, the makeup beauty influencer, has once again been tarnished online for his predatory behaviour. This time with further screenshots, evidence, and even the police getting involved. It looks so messy. But not only that, the allegations that have been put forward are very consistent and similar to others that we've seen. And now with around 20 people speaking out around James Charles, it's starting to make you think, is this more than just a coincidence? If you enjoy the vid, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you're not. It helps me out a lot, and I'd love you back as we cover more sick social media creeps. So Rhett Ethan is a TikToker, an influencer, and someone who has told the story before around this situation, with it actually falling on deaf ears. And he's coming out now back again because he wants to tell his story, he wants to get it out there, and he wants the healing process to start. Unfortunately, seeing James Charles get so much attention, fame, and notoriety is actually really triggering to him. And as I said in this video, we've got so much terribleness to cover, which is just a stain on his reputation. But that when you look and peel back the curtain and you see some of what other people have said in the past when they've come out and talked about their allegations, it's supremely similar, to the point where we're starting to paint a picture of how is this a coincidence, because there's just so much that is same. So as I said, Rhett Ethan is someone who has had this come out with them before.
He asked me what my age was, and I told him I was 14 years old, and he told me I was very young. And I said, yeah, and he said, add me on Snapchat because I feel more comfortable talking on there. And so I said, okay, like, let's do it, like, bet. He was asking me to send him nudes, and he kept wanting me to go to LA, and he kept sending me nudes.
Yep, that's him in 2020 talking about the situation as a 14-year-old, and you can only imagine how hard that would have been for him to do at the time. But obviously, it got silenced and it got pushed to the wayside because, well, that's what James Charles's team is good at, as we've found out. And this is where it all starts, because there is very evidently a massive power dynamic there.
James Charles commented and liked one of my videos. At that age and at that moment, you know, it was crazy. It was pretty freaking cool. It's like I accomplished something, you know. Like not long after he messaged me, hey, I responded almost immediately. Who wouldn't respond? It was exciting, but that excitement did not last long at all. The fun didn't last long at all. It honestly came crashing down just as quick as it all happened.
Because yeah, of course it's going to be really exciting for him. It's his first break. He's just blown up on social media himself, he said, and at that time he's getting notoriety from someone who is in a much higher place in the social hierarchy. Like at this point, even at this time, James Charles was a multi-million sub YouTuber. They were massive. They were such a big thing. So obviously he's going to entertain it, and obviously that's going to lead down to a slippery road with some of the most disgusting things that you'll see, as I'll cover. When the initial scandal came out in 2021, he did go on and say, I fully understand my actions and how they are wrong, but how do you do this? How do you get in contact with a 14-year-old where there is video evidence, by the way, and spend the time, how do you not know that that is wrong before? It's like the most simple and stupidest thing that you could do, unless you actually want it, you know, allegedly. And as I said, there's about 20 people that are involved in this sort of scandal, with the amount of underage people that he was messaging. But one specifically that I want to bring up is someone who came out in 2024 called Matthew. And he talked about a similar experience. I've covered this before, but it is so similar, and you get so many similarities to the point where you think, what the fuck? Like, how can this keep going on? Like, for example, with this bit, with the age check.
So here we go. November 7th, 2020, 9:24. Age check! You're thinking, could be harmless. He's just asking for my age. Yeah, it wasn't.
Like, yeah, both instances, they both seem really happy. They both seem excited. They both understand how big of a pull he has. All for it to come crashing down when they find out what he's actually like. And that shows that he is abusing this massive power dynamic, not just in a sense of his social media fame and attention, but also with the age that he is, he should know much better. Because he keeps sliding into DMs and Instagram, and then they go over to Snapchat. It happened multiple times in 2020, allegedly. Ethan also goes on to explain that the reason as to why he didn't actually go forward with anything in the past and it sort of fizzled out.
Anyways, months ago, I tried to talk about the situation once again, but it all came crashing down. I was getting threats, not just towards me, but to my family as well. People were messaging my family. People were calling me closeted. People were just doing some pretty mean things. And on top of that, my videos got taken down once again. No one believed me and everyone thought I was just making something up, which is my fault because I never showed as much proof as I do have.
Like, remember, this is a 14-year-old, and this 14-year-old is going through life, going through social media for the first time. They don't have a good idea or grasp on it, and they've gone and done something that has exposed an influencer that is very well liked at the time. Obviously, they're going to be getting a terrible amount of backlash. No one believed it because it's this small influencer trying to get down a giant, and it looks like maybe a bit of clout chasing, but obviously, I don't think that's the case here. As I said, James Charles has quite a notorious team for taking down stuff and also just trying to silence people. I have seen that quite a bit. And remember, in the original expose back in 2021, when he did come out and he said that in a couple of instances he had spoken sexually with minors, he came and said this.
I'm desperate. I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with.
I'm just desperate. Literally, I'm just desperate. Desperate in what way, though? James Charles, the multimillionaire, the extraordinaire, that is the person who is desperate. I've always found this such a stupid excuse because when he had such a big following, he could probably get any man that he wanted under the sun, but instead he chose to go into DMs of random people and try and chase them. And not only just random people, people that were that young to the point of saying age check. And Ethan goes on to say that at the time, not only had this tumbleweed kept going, but he actually tried to action it with the lawyers and the police.
Conversations I've had with my lawyers via email and conversations I've had with, the detective in that state at the time, I kept to myself because, that's not just my privacy. Those people have families as well, and I didn't want to get them involved. But why should I protect people who never protected me?
Now, he's saying that because, as we'll go on to cover, it kind of disappeared because of money, because literally money. When your lawyers suggest that are trying to back your corner and trying to get justice for you, suggest, let's just throw a little bit of money under the table and forget about it, that's not a great sign, is it? But unfortunately, yeah, it didn't end up going anywhere in the police for some reason, but it's probably because of the size and the actual state of what's going on. Which shows, once again, another brilliant instance of the American social justice system working when someone has money. Ethan then goes on to explain how this all actually started.
Anyways, we start going back and forth on TikTok. He initiates after a few days, hey, add me on Snap. I'm like, okay, I was trying to hide the fact that I was excited. It was really cool. I was hoping that this was going to jumpstart my career even more into being an influencer, being someone, making others happy, and just that was my intentions the whole entire time.
Once again, another power play from him. He knows how big he is. He knows how famous. He knows what kind of doors that he can unlock. So obviously he's going to be engaging with it as a 14-year-old that doesn't see anything different. Very naive to the situation. At the time, what James admitted to was 16 and 17-year-olds that he was messaging. I think he's gone a little bit further over the edge there. But you can't blame him at all for chasing this and speaking to him. And he takes a lot of guilt. It's very evident he does take a lot of guilt from actually continuing to speak to him, but he's not in the position. It's actually James Charles that's the entire problem here. And additionally, with Ethan, it gets even more serious with it when he realizes what he actually wants to achieve, and that is in a modeling career, something that James Charles can unlock very well.
Eventually ended up telling him I wanted to get into modeling or acting or maybe even both. And, he was very supportive about that. He said, oh my God, you'd be such a good model, you would do so well modeling and just stuff like that. And obviously I didn't see anything anything of it. I was young. I was happy he was saying I could do that, especially coming from a really big and noticeable influencer. You know, I thought it was great.
Getting gassed up by James Charles saying, oh, you'd be a great model. Oh, you'd be a great model, you 14-year-old. Like, that is just, oh, it's nonsense, innit? I don't think I'll ever see that sentence slip out of my mouth anytime soon. That's all I know. But there we are. He wants this career. He's got this vision. He's got these goals. He wants to be able to be in the positions. And that is what James Charles can unlock. And you see a very similar thing with Matthew when he's talking about his situation with James Charles, the alleged trauma he got from it. Because when he was trying to prove his worth, he was saying that he was a mature 16.
So here we go. November 7th, 24. You're thinking could be harmless. So this is a really complicated but also uncomplicated situation, which is why I never talked about it, because I just didn't have the heart to. But basically, he DM'd me that, and I responded and I said, I'm a very mature 16. Now I understand right off the bat, I shouldn't be talking like that. I should not be egging someone on like this, or like trying to like entice them. That wasn't my intent, I'm sure, but that's definitely how it came off, and I understand that now. But that being said, no matter what, I was a child.
I think that's the most important thing from that. I was a child. He literally was a child. You've got this massive influencer banging on your door. You're obviously going to answer. They want to prove their worth. It's what we've both seen with Ethan and Matthew here, is that they both wanted to elevate themselves into them avenues, and having a contact like that can really help. So they'll both just ignore the red flags that are staring at them. The, oh, you'd be such a great model. Yeah, would I? I bet you want to see me modelling, wouldn't you, James Charles? Or that, yeah, I'm a very mature 16. I promise you can still speak to me. It's all because of this. And it's that power dynamic that he knows full well that he has in his locker. With Matthew as well, it's worth noting that after he actually uploaded these, he did go on for a little bit longer, but then he deleted all of his social medias and has gone quiet on them. And you really have to think and wonder what that actually might entail or mean, but maybe it could be to do once again with James Charles' social media team shutting it down and keeping it quiet. And this is where we start getting into the more damning stuff. So, for example, here we've got him FaceTiming James Charles.
So James started getting extremely comfortable with me. And I just, I was so excited. I didn't really realize it at the time. We were FaceTiming, which I will pull it up right here.
I don't think so. At least.
FaceTiming? Really? Really, James Charles? Are you serious? Like, this is not just a one-off thing, remember. This is definitely something that is terrible. Because this proof here, just ignore for the fact for a second that it looks like the guy in question is topless, which, why is he doing that on with James Charles on FaceTime? It's just not a good look, is it? Not from him, but to James Charles. But worst case scenario for James Charles here, unless it gets totally rebuked, is that he was on FaceTime with a 14-year-old that was a randomer on the internet. Does that really make any sense? In what sort of situation are you going to find yourself looped up in that sort of thing? I think that only shows one thing, and it hides as well the idea of, well, if he's got this and he's showing this as proof, you can only imagine the type of other stuff that they've seen. And like James said, at the time he was really, really desperate. You're never that desperate, James Charles. You can't be that desperate to doing that unless there's something bigger at foot. From these FaceTimes, it started developing further and further, and it got to a point where certain things started getting a little over the edge and very, very criminal.
Anyways, James started becoming super aggressive with me. He would ask me to send him photos of my happy trail, which I didn't even have at the time, and because I was 14, I didn't have a happy trail, and I had armpit hair, but you didn't ask for that. And I kind of avoided the question because it made me super, super uncomfortable.
So for those that don't know, a happy trail is like the bit of hair that is at the bottom of a man's belly button going down into their pubic region. I don't know why I sounded so serious then. It ain't that serious. But if this is true, why is James asking for that from someone who is a minor? Why do you want to see that? What are you getting from that? And this is where it clearly has turned into something that is very more overtly sexual, in my opinion. He's got him on Snapchat, he's got the hiding messages that disappear, which is great. And this is his attempt, I imagine, at reeling him in. And yes, it does get much worse. But Ethan does clarify something which really I think it makes it sound even worse.
I'm sorry, I lied actually. I told him I shaved my happy trail because I was afraid to tell him that I didn't have a happy trail or have any hair on my body other than my armpit hair. So I'm sorry, I lied about that.
I don't know why he's saying he's lied, like he couldn't just go and delete and redo it. that's a bit confusing to me. But if anything, it actually makes it a little bit more believable in that sense that he is being true to himself. He said something and then he's gone and revised it after. But actually that he's getting gaslit into not shaving a happy trail that he doesn't have, James Charles, because he's 14. I'm sure you like that on a model, but please go to the right avenues for it. And another theme you'll get with the James Charles stuff is the way that he uses Snapchat, because it does disappear, to get more stuff, like in the Matthew case here.
But then he proceeded to add me on Snapchat. So this is 10:23. So an hour after this, then I get this snap one day. Now, this is November 24th, 2020. But I opened this snap, and I swear to God, it was a full ass pic of like him in a mirror, something, whatever. I was just like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, do you know, just as you do, you just randomly open that. Snapchat is his tool to get what he wants. That is very evident to me. And I think at the time he was using that as a shield. So if both of these stories are allegedly true, that is just even more credence to the idea that he is a bit of a problem, you know? Just a tiny bit, you know? No, he's literally a predator. From this, though, with Ethan, it started getting much more aggressive.
Anyways, you know, he kind of started being aggressive extremely after that. He told me, well, don't shave your happy trail. Again, because I like that. And he was very intense about how he said it. I know it doesn't sound bad, but only if you could be in my shoes when that happened. It made me super, super uncomfortable.
Just begging a child to not shave it because you find it attractive. Are you hearing this right? This stuff is mental. I just can't believe it, that he would even go down to these depths. Because this is also something, like I said, there's been so many people that have come out, but no one has come out that is under 16 at this point, I don't believe, apart from Ethan. And he's getting more aggressive because he knows what he wants, he's trying to do it, and I understand Ethan for saying, oh, if you were in my shoes, you just wouldn't understand otherwise. Because it is something that will have been very upsetting for him. He doesn't want these advances, and yet he is being fed them. And he wants to keep the conversation going because he knows what kind of avenues he can bring up, but he's just unable to do so without this, so it must have been horrid. But then, of course, with the conversations going on, it gets worse, and it gets to the point where he just goes and does exactly what he's been said to have done multiple times before.
Anyways, I go to bed that night, and I wake up to his sent to me, and it made me very, very uncomfortable. His behind in the mirror, and he also sent me a video of him in the shower. The videos are somewhere on the internet and find it. If I looked, I could probably find them in a Google Drive that we actually had for my lawyer.
The fact he's saying I can find it online, I'm not looking for it online. I promise you the last thing that I am doing is looking for that type of stuff online. But he's just gone and done it. He's just done it out the blue, and he's done it because he's been getting this reciprocal stuff. Not necessarily reciprocal, but he sees it as that because he's not being batted away immediately. And yeah, that does stink of desperation, but it stinks of desperation in a very criminal manner. And in exactly the same vein, Matthew, at the time when he had his allegations come up, he got the exact same thing.
To which he responded, what did I send? I said, you just sent a child your ass pic, actually. And then, I kid you not, he said, oops, sorry, that was for my kitty girls group chat. Or maybe someone else. I don't know. Sorry. Blocked me immediately.
Blocked! You have been blocked. Literally just getting blocked off the face of the earth after that because you've said exactly what he's done. How disgusting is all of this? It is just so grim. It's hard to listen to. But there, he got caught out. He disappeared straight away. He went into straight defense mode. He tried to bat it off like it's just something that accidentally happened because obviously that's accidentally going to happen all the time, right? Big whoopsies. I just accidentally did it. Oh, no. It's something much more serious. Because why have you got the 16-year-old on your Snapchat anyway? But with both of these, you saw that just come straight out of the blue, if anything. It is just something that just quickly came, and there is nothing that they can do about it, because they feel like they're trapped. At least with Matthew's case, he managed to bat him off straight away, but that's not what happened in Ethan's case that much. And it really does make me think about the Cosmopolitan article that was done on James, where he said, let's begin. I don't want to sit here and fucking mope and whine and cry because nobody wants to hear it. I had a lot of thinking to do in life, like, okay, babe, this is your fault. No, you're not a file. No, you're not a type of groomer. No, you're not a predator, but you made a big mistake. And right, you're hearing that, but then also with the last two things that I've just shown you, is that really giving that you're not any of them? Because if you're not a certain type of file, there is a certain age barrier that you are just overstepping that would make you look like that. Definitely make you look like that in the case of this recent Ethan stuff. And it is grooming in a sense because of the massive power imbalance in both age, experience, and size on social media that all of these have between each other. And it is predatory in nature. So I would think that all three of them really fit you, James. I don't know why you're saying that that's not the case in this Cosmopolitan article. And I don't know if he's just not thought about it or that it's something that he's just trying to deny, but at this point, it had been 2 years after, he knew full well the extent of what he's done. And it really makes you think how many other people are just hiding in the woodworks waiting for something to come out on him, or how many people have been silenced, because he definitely tried to do that with Ethan after this situation kept going, because there was threatening going on there,
saying he was going to ruin my career, go out and tell people I was gay and I was closeted, which isn't an issue. That's not an issue at all, but it was still the fact that I was a 14-year-old boy, and it scared me. It freaked me out.
Just getting constantly threatened, that sounds like a great thing. You know, if you come out, I'm going to threaten you. That's brilliant. But mainly with the gay thing, that is really terrible. Why is James Charles, a gay man, turning that on themselves? But I don't know if you grew up around my age. I'm 26 now, but when I was younger in school, we were all very accepting for anyone who was gay, bi, whatever you transcribe yourself as. But it's very certain to say that in school there was a negative connotation on being called gay. If someone called you gay, it was seen as, well, you're gay. Not in a sense of you like men, it was just seen as an insult. So for him to come out and say that as an offence for what he has done is actually criminal. Trying to guilt trip this poor child into letting everyone try and get embarrassed by him while he's at that age, developing, making him come out the closet even though he hasn't even said that he was gonna come out the closet and he didn't want what you were giving him, James. It's just so disgusting, and it's such an evil character representation of James Charles. And then Ethan goes on to share some of the stuff that he gave out after the situation occurred.
After talking to him on the phone, this was one of the first contracts they sent. I guess it's a social media warning and just a contract overall. It had to be me and my legal guardian signing it because at the time I was underage. She mentioned reaching out to the Frisco Police Department, so they wanted to get law enforcement involved, which is expected. You know, I did too.
So here we have receipts that are just proving that he has gone on and he has pushed it forward to the point of getting to a place where there might be some action. He didn't want to sit on it. He didn't want to just get bullied or argumentatively pulled off the internet because of James Charles. He wanted to not only just share awareness, he wanted to fight it. And you can see this with these documents that he has provided. And I think this adds even more credence because there is more evidence there that does prove that at the time this was being pushed forward, and it's something that he really did care about. Even as a 14, 15-year-old child, he was doing this, and it's very courageous of him to do it. But unfortunately, the pressure became too much around him. As he explains right here how he didn't end up going forward with it.
I started going into a depressive episode where I was too scared to talk to the lawyers. I was too scared to talk to the detective, and people kept pushing me to do it. Everyone kept pushing me and kept telling me I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to talk to him, I need to do that. And it was just, it became way too much for me. At that point in time, it became a lot.
Now, I need you all to remember, once again, it is a 14-year-old or 15-year-old at this point that is going through all of these motions. They got caught. This is very serious things. There is so much social pressure on him from his family, his friends, from everyone on social media to either come out with it and go forward with it or just disappear, and he chose to disappear. I can't imagine at that age having so much hate and vile volatility thrown at me. It must have been so so hard for him. And I also don't know genuinely how he actually managed to traverse it and get through it, because it must have really stained his own life. Maybe now as an adult you might look at it and think, well, I'd have gone through it, I'd have done it, but you're not a 15-year-old child going through school. And also, the idea of having to take down one of the biggest influencers on the planet must have been such a massive, monumental thing for him. It must have weighed so heavily. So I don't blame him for not going for it. I just wish that it did get further into the courts, and hopefully something like this with the awareness and added attention might bring it back. But it wasn't only the social pressure that led him to that. There was mainly one massive thing that turned him over the edge with it.
It's like, what? There was like kind of like, oh, he's not going to want to take this to court. He's not going to want to do that. So maybe he can give you some money out of this situation. And that just right there was just that. At that point was literally my breaking point, because it was nothing about the money, and it was a shame that they even said that.
What a terrible stain. What genuinely just a stain. It's just grim, innit? He wants to go forward with the case. He wants to take him to court and get his justice, but instead his lawyers are telling him, well, I don't think he really wants to go to trial, so shall we just try and get a bit of money out of him? And there we have the American social justice system just working in prime era with someone who is famous. Because it's not only that, it's the way that James Charles would have come to it. He'd have come with as much money as he could to get the best lawyers in the world that would attack him. It would then also become a massive social media pressure, because the government and the police have to charge him and go for it, and that will cost so much when you've got someone else fighting that has got the best people that they can in the world on it. It seems to them self-defeating when they can't necessarily prove it in some ways, potentially. So the hush money is just a way of just getting away from it, and I find it grim. And James Charles is obviously going to play by the rules in the way that he'll do that, and you can't blame him for it. But it is just disgusting that things like this can just get glossed over because you've got a bit of money in your back pocket. That's what really infuriates me around every situation that I see here. But for Ethan, it must have been so self-defeating, because that is it. Like, you really realise at that point you're getting nothing out of this, and you've just got to live with it. And the amount of torment that must have cost him is just, it's an insane amount. And I mean, he's so courageous coming out even now and speaking about this. As I said, there's been so many people that have come out and talked about this, and it is a serious problem and drama that needs to be addressed, and he needs to get that. So I don't blame him at all for walking away. There's also this damning bit of evidence that he does show, where it shows that he basically said 4 more years till you turn 18.
I'm about to show you next is a video of me opening his snap on Snapchat of him saying 4 years. And what he's implying on that 4 years is 4 more years until I'm 18 years old. My brother wanted to record it because he thought it was super weird of him to say.
And if this is a real thing with actually full context there, that's obviously another absolutely damning thing from him. Like, yeah, you got 4 more years, mate. I'm so happy. Absolutely criminal situation to be in. How much more does he have to do? What else does he have to do to get out of this situation? It's so grim. I just can't wrap my head around it. Ethan also went on to ask if he can collab with the makeup stuff and the makeup side of it. And this is the response.
I hate putting really hot guys into makeup.
I hate doing hot guys makeup in response to them doing a collab together. I think you can really see there that if the context is correct, that is another terrible offence. And it's clear he's proving with evidence this is really something that he shouldn't have been doing. How many times is James Charles going to do this and get away with it? The context is very clear there. And I just think, honestly, I don't know what kind of loops that he had to pull himself out of to get to this. There is so much more evidence that he has to give Ethan, but since these couple of responses, there has unfortunately been a situation where his video has got taken down. And you can only look and think, I wonder who might have taken that video down, and it might make a bit of sense. Now you know about all of the stuff that James Charles has done. Really asked quite a few questions, doesn't it? It does, because he's got this team that do go around and scrub his image to make sure that he can get these brand deals. You gotta think who it might be. But despite all of this, Ethan is very adamant that he's not going to stop now.
Hey guys, so as you can see, the video was taken down. What a surprise. It truly is a shame, but you know what? I'm going to keep my head up, and I'm going to fight even harder now. So that's the dumbest thing that he probably could have done. I'm not stopping now.
So my question from all of this would be, are we going to see more? Because we should be able to. He's getting everything together. He was saying he had loads of problems pulling up loads of different screenshots and proof and evidence that you can see from it. But it's looking only one way, that James Charles is truly cooked if there is much more evidence that is brought to the table. I mean, enough of what you've seen already looks very dodgy, and it's going to be getting worse. At the bare minimum, you got proof that he was speaking to a 14-year-old as like a 20-year-old man. Is that enough for you? But from this, Ethan has been getting a lot of backlash once again, as you'd expect. He's had takedowns. He's trying to not get silenced, but he is getting silenced, and that has led him to post this. I still have so much I want to say and share, but today I really needed a mental health day to breathe and clear my head. Seeing that everyone stand up for justice has meant more than me that I can put into words. Not just for me, but for anyone out there who needs courage to speak up. This shouldn't be about drama. It should be about awareness, healing, and making sure the people who need to take accountability finally do so. His entire point throughout this is that he wants accountability for the actions, and I think that's a very courageous stance, and I also think that proves a bit of validity to all of his cause, because he could have in the past, he could have got that hush money and he could have walked off and he would have been paid, I imagine so, but he didn't, and he didn't want to go down that route, and the reason why is because he wants that action. And what does this all mean for James Charles? It means he's cooked. How many times are we going to see him get into these scandals where from 2020 to 2021 he was doing something really, really dodgy and it got really out of hand? And his entire problem was that he's just desperate. Desperate in what way, James? You're a multi-millionaire that has the world at their feet. You could choose any man that you want, and yet you're digging around on social media for people who are minors. Does he not understand the actual truthness to all of this? Does he not realise how bad he actually got? I don't know, but I think if these allegations are all true, it paints another terrible stain on him, and we need to see him not be on social media anymore, because you can't go through such a terrible scandal, you can't do it to so many people and then just walk away like nothing happened. That's not really how it works. But let me know what you all think. If you enjoyed, as always, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not. I've been Jake Baz. I'll see you all later. Take care.